All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest, most influential books in all of Western philosophy, Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. And look, I know it sounds heavy, but this isn't just some dusty old text. It's basically a 2,300-year-old guide to answering a question that every single one of us asks at some point. And that question is right here. What is the ultimate purpose of your life? I mean, really think about that. Aristotle noticed something brilliant and simple. Everything we do, whether it's going to work, hitting the gym, or learning a new skill, we're doing it because we think it's good for us in some way. But he wondered, is there a final destination for all this effort? Is there one ultimate good that everything else is pointing towards? That's the puzzle he sets out to solve. Now, to really get what Aristotle was doing, we have to understand the world he was living in. He wasn't just sitting in a room making this up out of thin air. He was responding to some of the biggest ideas of his time, especially from his own teacher. On one hand, you had his teacher, the legendary Plato. For Plato, the idea of the good was this perfect abstract thing, almost like it was floating up in the clouds in some other dimension. But Aristotle, he was a biologist at heart. He was all about observing the real world. So he said, forget looking up at the sky. If you want to know what the good life is for a human, you've got to look at, well, humans. And this right here was a total game changer. Aristotle decided ethics wasn't something you just think about, it's something you do. It's a practical science. For him, the whole point wasn't just to have a debate about what a good person is, but to actually figure out how we can become good people. It's about action, not just theory. So if everything we do aims at some good, what's the big one? What's that final goal we're all shooting for? Aristotle gives it a name, a Greek word that is absolutely central to his whole philosophy, eudaimonia. Now be careful here. You'll almost always see eudaimonia translated as happiness, but honestly, that translation kind of misses the point. The happiness we talk about today is usually a feeling, right? It's that warm, fuzzy emotion you get from a good meal or a fun day out. But that's not eudaimonia. A much better way to think about it is human flourishing. It's not a feeling, it's the state of living your best possible life, of truly thriving. Yeah, so it's an activity. It's a process, a lifelong project. It's definitely not some final destination where you just arrive and say, okay, I'm flourishing now. It's also not the same as being rich or famous, though maybe those things can happen along the way. Think of it like this. Eudaimonia isn't about winning the lottery. It's about becoming a master musician. It's the excellence you achieve through years of dedicated practice and performance. It's in the doing. Okay, so if flourishing is the goal, how in the world do we get there? What's the method? For Aristotle, the answer is crystal clear. We get there by practicing virtue. And here's the crucial part. You aren't just born brave or generous or patient. Virtue is a habit. It's something you build, like a muscle, through repetition. It becomes what he calls a second nature. You don't become a great basketball player by reading a book about it, right? You get on the court and you practice. Same thing here. You become a courageous person by doing courageous things over and over until it's just part of who you are. This brings us to probably his most famous idea, the golden mean. It's such a practical tool. He says that for any virtue, it's the perfect sweet spot, the bullseye right between two extremes. And those two extremes are both vices, or bad habits. So take courage. On one side, you have the vice of not having enough. That's cowardice. On the other side, you have the vice of having way too much. That's recklessness. Right in the middle, that's true courage. Now, this quote you see everywhere. Might not be a word-for-word translation, but man, it perfectly captures the heart of his philosophy. Your character isn't fixed. It's not set in stone. It's the sum total of your habits. Excellence is something you are actively building with every choice you make every single day. But wait a second. You might be thinking, okay, find the middle. Sounds easy enough. But life is messy, right? How do you know exactly where the mean is in a really complex situation? It's not always obvious. For that, Aristotle says you need a very special kind of skill. He calls this skill Fronesis, or practical wisdom. This isn't about being book smart or knowing a bunch of facts. It's more like moral street smarts. It's the ability to read a situation, understand what's at stake, and know what the right thing to do is right here, right now. It's the master virtue, the moral compass that helps you aim all the other virtues in the right direction. So how does it actually work? Well, first, someone with phronesis just sees the situation clearly, for what it is, without letting their own biases get in the way. Second, they get what moral principles apply, things like honesty or fairness.
Third, they think through their options. And then, and this is so important, they act. They have the guts to do what they've decided is the right thing. It's that blend of seeing, knowing, thinking, and doing that makes up practical wisdom.
So all of this is fascinating, but let's be real. It was written thousands of years ago in a totally different world. Why should we still care about it? Does it have anything to say to us today? The answer is a huge yes. I mean, Aristotle's ideas are everywhere once you start looking. The whole modern field of virtue ethics and philosophy is basically a revival of his focus on character. In psychology, the entire positive psychology movement, with its talk of flourishing and character strengths, is directly built on an Aristotelian foundation. Think about character education in schools or leadership books that talk about integrity and wisdom. That is all Aristotle living and breathing in the 21st century. So in the end, the Nicomachean Ethics isn't just a book to be studied, it's a challenge. It turns the question right back on us. It asks us to see our own life as a kind of craft, an art form that we can get better at with practice. It asks a very simple and very profound question. Are you building the habits that lead to a flourishing life? Are you practicing the art of living well? This is for entertainment and educational purposes only